Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy Frank Lee, aka Frank the host, and we're on another episode of Fan Swap. And we have a special guest with us today, and that is Miss Michelle Maldonado. Maldonado. I got it. Super excited you're here. It's a lot of great things going on in our community right now. A lot of things that are happening in our community and around the world. And we started out this journey with interviewing people in our community of influence back in December. And this time around, we're here interviewing you because you're running for the House of Delegates, right?
Yes.
And so what we should know is that we have an election coming up very soon, and we have to continue to show up so that our presence is known. And if you want change to happen, you have to understand what's going on and when do you have to go out here and vote. So she's running for office in June, correct?
Yes, the primary vote is June 8th. That's the first one. That's the first hurdle we got to get over.
So the first hurdle is June 8th, but it's also really good for you guys to know who's running for office. Not just getting some of the commercials that are going out. Let's get to know some of these people who are running for office. So you're here.
So I'm here.
So you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. Can you please tell us who you are? Tell us what you represent, and so that the viewers can actually know what's good.
Yeah. So I'm Michelle Maldonado, as we just said, and I'm running for the Virginia House of Delegates in District 50. And let me tell you that running for office is a privilege. Running for office is an answer to a calling, and all of us have this obligation to show up in our communities, in our commonwealth, and our nation and the world with our own sense of empowerment. And so that's one of the things that inspired me to run, is so that we could make change, so that our voice and all of our voices could be heard and at the table all at once. So I'm running on a number of different platforms, a number of different issues. And these issues touch you and me and everyone that you see, every one of us. Because we're in COVID, we're in social and racial unrest in our country, and we're also having experiences of our healthcare and our education and policing and other things not be as equitable as they could be around our nation. And so I want to be a change agent, somebody that steps in and uses what I think is a right, not a privilege, that we all have to be able to show up in this world with our own sense of empowerment and self-mastery. But we can't get there alone. We have to be in it together, and our voice matters. But not just our voice, what we do matters, and how we do it matters.
Hey, I like that. We are in a situation, you talked about this earlier, and this might, well, this is important. Right now, we're, like you said, we're in a place where racial tension is huge in our area, and we have to make some changes and shifts. You said you and your family did something, and you guys did an open letter. I want you to talk about it right from the get, because I think it's very important that we are present and we know what's going on, but we have some solutions that we can, or we're working through to the solutions to help us get to that change that we need to see. So can you talk about that?
So that's a really interesting story, how that all came to be. And the first thing I want to say is, it's okay if you feel angry. It's okay to feel the spectrum of emotions that we feel when we see what's happening around us that's unjust or unfair. One of the things that it's important for us to know in the middle of that is that there's always something we can do. And that's what I was trying to figure out with my husband. We have a teen son that's in high school, and our son is Black. And we were worried about all that was happening in the summer, where George Floyd was killed, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and so many others who were having trauma experienced over and over again and compounded across our nation and across our communities. And so the thing that we thought about was, well, what can we do? And what message could we send to our son that, as dire as things look, that there is still something you can do? And so we came up with writing an open letter to humanity. And in that letter, each of us contributed a piece of my perspective as a woman, as a mom, as a wife, as a daughter, as a person of color. and then my husband as an Afro-Latino, as a father, and then our son. And we all contributed a piece to this letter. And when we finished the letter, we were like, yeah, now what? Right? People are going to read this letter and be like, yeah, I get that. I'm all with that, but where do we go from here? And the one thing we didn't want to do was be representing ourselves as we have your answer, we have the answer. So what we did was we decided we wanted to give people a good place to start. And that good place to start was this guide that we created that was full of resources so that people could start to educate themselves about what the issues were. And the way we broke it out was super cool. It was like you went from self, family, community, world of work, organizations, because we travel through each one of those. Whether we're an employee or not, we're going into places that are businesses or, organizations, because we buy groceries, we, do whatever. And so each one of those places, we pick up some things. We pick up some perspectives, we pick up some biases, we pick up some misperceptions. And each one of those gave us lots, each one of those in the guide gave us lots of things to reflect on and to take personal action and then to get in community together, because it's great to talk. We need to talk, but that's not enough. We also have to roll up our sleeves and be involved so that we can create impact and positive change that is sustaining, like creating legacy. It's not a moment change, it's a forever change. And that we have to invest in ourselves to do that. So that's how it came about.
I agree. I love it. And I think that it's very important that we all know, for those who are in the DMV, she actually is from the DMV.
I'm from Massachusetts. But I've been here since '93, so I feel like I'm from here now.
She's
invested
in
so long. Yeah.
So Massachusetts, I was in Massachusetts for a while too, for 4 years actually, right outside of Boston.
Yes.
I was in Saugus.
Yes.
Revere, if you know it. So, but you told me you came out of community actually in one of our community, Coverstone. But your journey from that point to your career or what you did, so you were a lawyer, correct?
Yes.
All right, so talk about that journey from actually being a lawyer, so up to being a lawyer, and then all the way to a businesswoman, and now running for this office. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I come from a family of teachers and principals and people who represent all branches of the military. So in our family, service was core to what we do. There was an obligation. My father always would repeat the same refrain that probably some of you have heard: if not you, who? If not now, when? And that was my father's refrain all the time. And he would also say, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yeah, that's good.
And when you say that one, it doesn't mean much is given in terms of material riches. So if people say, but I don't have a lot of money or I don't have a lot of material things, that's not necessarily what it means. When we are in a place to be able to offer the best of ourselves, we have an obligation to do that. If we also have lots of material things that we can gift and share, we have an obligation to do that too. But it is not just the physical. So as I kind of moved through, getting through school, we had a little bit of a turbulent childhood, working through some things, and finally worked my way through college. And I was sharing with Frank that in college, it was very stressful because I had to make monthly tuition payments that were $150. And that felt like $5 million to me at that time. And I was always so stressed, like, how am I gonna, pay this tuition and still be able to stay in school? What if I can't make it and I get kicked out? So college was really stressful, but I just kept doing it. And the thing that kept me inspired was that I knew that there was more for me to do and offer in the world, which is what is exactly where all of us are. There's so much we can do and offer in the world. So I kept going. But I also had beautiful people who intersected with me along the way, because there's nothing we can all do in the vacuum. Yeah, we got to do the hard work. There's work that's hours to do and hours to do alone, but not alone. Like we need support from other people. I finally I got into law school. I went to law school at GW in DC.
Yeah.
And that's why I moved down here and I never left. And I had lived here, and I lived in Coverstone apartments in the mid-'70s, and then went back to Massachusetts after here. And I remember thinking, Virginia is such a beautiful place, I want to go back. And when it was time to come back, to go somewhere, this is where I came back to.
Came back home.
And then I ultimately started my own business.
Hey.
You know, here's the one thing that I saw in college that made me be a lawyer, or decide to be a lawyer, and that was I was seeing all these companies, these big, huge international companies, creating manufacturing facilities here in our country and Mexico and Central America, and they were abusing their employees. They were not treating them fairly. They were polluting the environment. And this is back a while ago. I'm dating myself. It was a while ago, right? But and I was very concerned about that. And so what I decided was I wanted to be what I called back then a corporate activist. I wanted to get inside those companies and flip them from the inside out so that they showed up better in the world. And so I decided that the law degree was going to help me do that more than the business degree was, because there would be a different set of skills that I could use. And that's what I did. I committed my career. I did started a number of different leadership positions in businesses, and then went out on my own to be able to help other people do that. So I started in 2018 full-time in my own business, and what I did was started to be asked by companies, colleges, nonprofits, and then ultimately federal agencies in our government and the UN to go out and get into those sticky, difficult places where there was conflict and divide, like in federal law enforcement, in our UN sort of peacekeeper situations. We need people, we need everybody to sort of stand in the gap to bring the sides together to make a difference. And that is the biggest inspiration for me running, because we have so much divide and so much that needs to be healed and brought back together and transformed.
Our community needs to hear your story. First and foremost, we're all about being in the gap. I feel like FanSwap, or myself and the people who are associated with FanSwap, we're the bridge in the community, because we got a lot of issues to fix. We don't want to be known as a people who sit on the sideline and don't do anything to cause change. And so with your story, you telling that story right now, it helps us to be able to see, honestly, like, I will vote for you only because what you just told me. You know, because it's good for us to see you and know that you do this. Like, you've been doing this for years. And so now putting you in the office to deal with, and correct me if I'm wrong, this position actually deals with some of the laws that are being dealt with in Virginia.
Absolutely, 100%. 100%.
I want you in that position because this helps us to be able to know that we can actually reach you, one, or maybe you can educate us on how to reach you, on where to show up and how to show up. But we need people in the office that are going to deal with the issues and the problems of the land. I want people in the position who are actually going to be looking at the issues and the policies and addressing them for all, not just for one-sided, to be honest with you.
It's so critically important, and that, you know, we were talking about this earlier, that yes, every candidate wants to earn your vote. But before that, what's important to know is that it's just important to vote, you know, whoever you decide. And there is a place for everyone to be a participant in this process. And we need for that, because as you said, there's so much work to be done. It's all hands on deck. We need this. And yes, you also want to have somebody who is going to represent everyone, but not just that. In addition to that, you want somebody who's going to stay engaged in dialogue after the election's over.
That's good, yeah.
You need to be able to know that there are places you can go and actually be physically with them, assuming that the conditions are right from COVID, and there's you know, the vaccines are coming out, people are feeling more comfortable, that whoever is representing you is, you know where you can go to see him or her. You know where you can have conversation. You know that your phone call is going to be returned. You know that you're going to be engaged in continuous dialogue so that the voices are heard and brought back to the state legislature. We want to do that in a way that's meaningful, because the change that has to happen isn't going to come from one person. No matter who that person, that candidate is, that candidate, that representative has to have the ear, the heart, the voice of everybody so that we can do the job that we've been elected to do, and to do it fairly, equitably, and properly.
I agree. I want to ask this question, and maybe you can answer it. Maybe you know, I think you probably answer it. What are some things in our community that you feel like needs to be, addressed?
Yeah. There's so much. So let me start with what I'm heartened by, that I'm seeing. With Mayor Davis Younger, there's been a lot of change already. She's a bridge builder, and I want to see that duplicated, right? I want to be able to say, okay, let's bring different communities together in conversation, because the divide isn't just, see, what we often do is we think and we speak in binary terms: good, bad, up, down, right, wrong, white, black. The world is full of color and full of shades of gray that go beyond that binary thinking. So what I want to see in our communities is more of the dialogue of bringing people together so we can create those bridges. Some of the ways that we can do that is in our social programs. Some of the ways we can do that is also through the way that we reimagine public safety and policing. See, a lot of people will say, like, we have to take some people out of the equation, out of the conversation. I don't think we can do that. I don't think we can afford to not have people at the table, because we've had a history of people not being at the table, and that doesn't serve our needs. The other thing is, I will just look at sort of something. We're sitting here in this beautiful coffee house, this gathering place, Girani's, that everybody is like the heartbeat of this area. When we think about what things we can do in our community, is also how we support our small businesses. A lot of people don't know that our small businesses are the backbone of our economy. Not just Manassas or the county or the Commonwealth, but of the nation. It's really businesses like this that help things thrive in communities. And I want to see a lot of support for our small businesses, but what I really want to see is how small businesses and government or agencies start to come together in private-public partnerships to be able to create solutions for our youth, for our families who are marginalized, who don't have enough food, who don't have enough shelter. Some of the things I want to look at when you think about shelter is affordable housing. How do we do that properly? What I don't want to see, we moved here from the South Bronx, and it's very different, of course, than Manassas, but what I can tell you is that when you have affordable housing or rent control or those things, that sometimes you don't always get the help and service you need in that, because there are people who may not come and help make sure the structures are sound and healthy and safe. There may be holes in the wall. There could be all kinds of things. And so we want to make sure that when we, as a community, begin to build out, that we're making sure there is a place for everyone. Not people concentrated in a particular part of the city or county or end of the county, but everything is sort of scattered and integrated within each. That's part of the problem when we start to segregate ourselves, whether by circumstance or because of not having the choice. I want to see some of that change, and I want to see more things happening with our youth. The things that you all are doing in the community are very powerful, because it starts young, and a lot of times we don't start till older. And here's something that's so common with the Western world, but especially with Americans. Like, we want things quick, fast, in a hurry, and we want to fix that thing all the way down that line now. But the reality is that process, that law, that procedure, that's created by all of us. So we can't fix that unless we do what I call, or what they call in the tech world, reverse engineer. We got to work backwards and figure out, why does that keep getting created? And so there's a lot of things that we can do around education. There's a lot of things, and that education spills into empowering for small business entrepreneurs, like we see all around in FanSwap and other places. What happens in the education space? What happens in healthcare? Because we know that there is inequity across all of those. So we need to put those things in place so we can start to build bridges in ways that create sustainable impact. And we can, a crystal example of something I think would be awesome, but is not necessarily something you have to do at the legislative level, at the state or level, is we don't have like a full community incubator. I know there was some that was done through their Economic Development Authority and some other folks in partnership, but where's a place where our people could go and learn about financial literacy? Where can they be empowered about entrepreneurship? Where can they understand what the taxes mean, how to form a business without having to drive an hour away or to another part? So these things that we can create here to enrich and keep people here in our community, empowered in our community, working in our community, living in our community, and thriving in our community.
I agree. I think that we should have something like that. That's why Fan Spot is here. Shout out to Los and all the entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs. Our goal is to start 12 different young people's businesses each year. So from this year on, 12 businesses. But also educate them in the finances and entrepreneurship and stuff like that. We want to be sure that our community is that way. So we should have these incubators because it does help. It helps our economy. It helps so much more. And as long as we can reach and tell them, while they're young, just think about 10 years from now when all these kids are starting out, these young people starting out. 10 years from now, our economy locally will probably be some of the best in the country. Yeah. By doing that.
Absolutely.
You're speaking to my heart is what I'm trying to say. Speaking to my heart. I think that those are the things that are very important. Okay, so we got some of the things you're passionate about for our community. I want to talk about you being you. Like, what are the things that you love to do? What's your favorite genre of music?
I like hip hop house from the 90s. Yeah. Like that is, I just like, I'm old school. I like some folks that aren't even around anymore. Heavy D, Public Enemy, Queen Latifah, and she's acting now. She's not even
sweet. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. So I love the smooth R&B kind of hip hop. That's my thing. I'm eclectic, so I listen to everything except really like acid rock. That's a little too much for me, but there's some rock I like. But I like everything, but like to feel like in a groove, it's all that.
Cool. And so you got a family.
Yes.
Amazing family. So what are the things you guys love to do?
Interesting. I never did this before I moved to Virginia, but to hike over at Great Falls National Park because they have a waterfall.
Yeah.
And so I love going there. My son likes to go there with me. And here's something a little nerdy about me. I still like to roller skate on 4 wheels. I don't do the inline, so I have my own skates. I like to roller skate. And years ago, when I used to work in Manassas before I had my own company, I would take my lunch hour. It was near the roller rink here in Manassas, and I'd go roller skating.
Which one? The one over here in Old Town?
The one off of Sudley. Sudley Road going towards 66.
Wow, okay.
What's really important to me is family and like relationships. So I could say I love to travel, and yeah, I do. But what's really amazing to me is a good quality day with family, because all of us are so busy, and anybody who has left home recently because you are in your next adventure in life, or if you are a parent and have children, like they're only in the house for so long. Of course they're all going to come back and visit and all that, but to me that's the richest thing. And in my family's culture, that multi-generational connection is so important that's also one of my most favorite pastimes. And it's very simple. And I'm also a big superhero person.
Yeah.
So like Marvel, all of those things.
Yeah.
Like we are hardcore.
Yeah, really? That's dope. My family is too. I'm not gonna lie. I watch it. My wife and my kids are actually like super involved. And they're like, Daddy, you don't know that? Like, listen, chill out. You know what I'm saying?
You got to know the storyline.
Yeah, they know all the storyline. They know what's up.
Yeah.
That's cool though. That's good. Okay, so. Walked in the building now. I want him to come here for a second. Los, come here. And the reason why I'm bringing Los in here, I know I'm catching him off guard. He wasn't ready for this at all. And I want to keep this in tape because this is Los.
Hi.
And this is Miss Michelle.
How you doing, Miss
She's
Michelle?
running for office. Los is our young leader. He's 19?
Yeah, 19.
19 years old, and he's doing amazing things. But it's good for him and his people to see. Come over here in the middle, because I had a camera over there. You're not mic'd up too, so you gotta speak up too.
I got you.
And it's good for him to see people like yourself come in and speak to us. But this is the generation that him and his crew, his people he's reaching right now, are the people that need to hear from you. Him. I texted him. I said, "Come over here." I wanted him. My phone's dead, so I had to message through. But
I'm so glad you came.
You're speaking to him, his coach. He's a young leader in our community. Los he's a young mayor. He's a young mayor of our city.
Like it.
And so I need Los and his people to hear a message from you. What is that message to him?
I think the message is that you, in many ways, have got this. And not only have you got it, but you have all of us to support you, and you have to believe in it. We were talking about this earlier. Like, it's not enough to be hopeful about the future. You've got to believe that it's your divine right to be able to be empowered and step into self-mastery as you hold hands with everybody else and be that bridge builder, because there is nothing that needs to be changed that any of us can do by ourselves. And everybody, before you came in, we were talking about everybody's got to have a voice and a seat at the table. And it's going to take people like you, like me, like you, and all the people that are looking up to you to see you model it. Because it's in the modeling, it's going to speak much more loudly than the words that come out of your mouth. And so staying in integrity and staying involved. Words are good, but actions have to come. And you've got to stay involved. And that's going to make all the difference in the world. And making sure that you tap into the people that are around you, because we stand on the shoulders of the people before us, just as you do. So all of us have an obligation and an honor to serve in that way, and to hold that respect for it as you go forward, and invite others to do the same.
It's all about the new generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I call him out on purpose, and I want him to be here because opportunities like this don't come around, and it's our job, like I said, on the bridge, to make sure, he gets everything. I tell him he has the privilege of failing as much as he can right now, because we're here to pick him up and keep him going. And I have the privilege to be able to put him in a position to be able to meet the ones who are getting into office like yourself. I'm bringing him on. He's over there eating. I'm like, nah, you gotta come over here. You know what I'm saying? And I want him to be. He's doing a phenomenal job. He has something coming up very soon, but I need him to see greatness in front of him. And those who are standing, he's got to stand. He got to stand on all of our shoulders. And he has to run harder. He has to run faster, and he has to run stronger, go stronger, because we're all around and we're holding him accountable to that. So I need you to be here because of that.
Always.
That's what I
gotta show up for my people when they're down.
Yeah.
Thanks for what you're doing.
Appreciate you.
Thanks for what you're doing.
It was nice meeting you as well.
You too. Keep
It's
going.
all about your network. You know what I mean?
You're right. Appreciate you. Love you, man.
All right. Take care.
I know it's like kind of random, but
No.
I wanted to do that because, we got a lot of great young people here, and I needed him to see you. I needed him to see you.
That's we all need it, and we're saying he's got the responsibility, he's got a whatever, but we do too.
We do, you're right.
Because we have to pave the way. Our job is to make it better for them, so it's not as hard for them as it was for us, just as the people before us paved and cut down the thicket so that it wouldn't be as hard for us. It's all hard. But if we do it right, we make it easier for those that come after us and those that come with us. And we have that. To me, it's an honor. It's a privilege to be able to do that.
I love it.
And a responsibility.
Hey, so, guys, I'm really random with this thing here, but I feel like in this time in the season, going into this next year or June, we have a responsibility, like she said, to really leave an impact or really write the narrative of what's going to happen next.
Yes.
And this is where we're at right now. So I just want to end off this thing real quick with you just giving words of encouragement, telling everybody what you're passionate about. You've already said it already before, but the reason why I want you to look in this camera, we'll break this up and let people to see it. I want you to tell everybody why, you know, and who you are and what you stand for. Because June is coming around the corner, guys, and we're looking for you guys to get in the position to help make sure our community is going to change. We have the pen in our hands to really write the narrative of what's going to happen next. And so Miss Michelle, she's going to be going out here and getting in position, so that we can push this thing forward. So, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I want to say that people ask me all the time, who are you running against? And I don't think that's the right question. I don't think that's the right question for any of us. The question is, what are we running for? What are we standing for? That's where we need to put our vision and our effort and our energy. And not on the things that we don't want, but the things that we want. Because in pursuing the things that we want for all of us, we start to fix the things that we don't want, as opposed to giving this incredible narrow lens on the things that cause trauma and pain. And what I am doing is running for all of us. I'm running for all of us. I'm focused on us. You know, my son is an inspiration because just like many of you, he and you, all of us have this responsibility to make the world a better place. And that's not utopian. That's not rose-colored glasses. That is the gift, that is our birthright to be able to show up in the world and, as you were saying, to create our next chapter. So I'm passionate about doing that. And I'm also passionate about not just making change and bringing people along, but also infusing some fun with it. If you think about your core values and how do you bring that into the work that you do, one of my core values, believe it or not, is humor. And I like to laugh and have fun, and because the work is hard. And so what you have to do is find the things that keep you refueled and replenished and restocked so you can keep going and help others do the same. So if you look at what I'm standing for jobs in the economy and education and healthcare and social justice and criminal justice reform and the environment, all the things that we care about that matter because it is the world we're living in and the world we're going to be living in. And so the thing that I would offer to you is remember that primary elections are important because that determines who's on the ballot in the general elections in November, which is the election that most people know about, the general ones. But the primaries is where your voice gets to be heard to figure out who's going to be on that ballot in November. And then letting your voice be heard again in November to make that final selection. Your voice matters, what you do matters, and the other thing I always say is how you do what you do matters. And I'm going to be the kind of delegate and representative that keeps in mind and heart that how we do what we do matters and how we bring other people with us. So I just want to close by saying thank you. Thank you for all that you all are doing, all who you are and who you are becoming. And I just remember that you make a difference and what you say makes a difference and how you do it and how you bring others along makes a difference. And thanks for all that you're doing in our community. It's inspiring and it's motivating and it's the kind of community building and foundation that allows for all of us to springboard from. So thank you.
Appreciate that. You know what it is. Before the coaches to the community, we're here with Michelle. Say the last name again.
Maldonado.
Maldonado. Good. Super excited that you came with us today. Can you tell us where we can find you and where we can find all your information about what's going to happen soon?
Yeah, absolutely. So on my website, it's Michelle, 4, VA, like short for Virginia.com. So Michelle4VA.com. That has, if you want to volunteer, we need tons of volunteers. So if you are interested in learning about the political process, what does it mean? What do you do? What does it take to run a campaign and win? You can help us be a volunteer. We have a link on there. There's also a link to learn more about my background and what the issues are that I'm running on. So Michelle4VA.com. It also has the voting dates. So remember, June 8th for the primary and November 2nd for the general election.
You heard it. So listen, www.teamfanswap.com. You can always find out information there as well. Thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate you. Before the coaches to the community, and I'm excited about what's about to happen for our culture and our community here. So make sure you guys tap in. Make sure you guys find out more about Miss Michelle and everything she stands for, so you guys can show up in June to vote for her to be on the ballot. With that being said, if no one's told you, we want to tell you we love you. God bless. We're out. Thank you.